few seconds, this place was Armageddon. There was a firefight!
Hello and welcome to the Blacklist. Today, we are going to be doing a spoiler cast on this game right Beyond Two Souls. Now, if you have yet to join us for a spoiler cast, and you don't understand the meaning of spoiler cast, I suppose, we are going to be talking about all parts of the game. So if you have yet to do so, please beat the game before listening to this cast, unless you don't care and you just want to hear about mine and Bryan's opinions on it. So again, this is your one and only warning. If you have yet to beat Beyond Two Souls, come back to this video later because we're going to be spoiling all parts of the game.
In 3, 2, 1. Oh my god, Aiden's her twin brother that died during childbirth? Jiminy Jillikers!
Jiminy Jillikers. All right. Where would you like to start the show off, sir? There's lots to talk about.
There is lots to talk about with this game. Do we want to start with breaking down the game a bit so we can kind of get that part out of the way before we get into
good.
our yeah.
Okay. I said this on our weekly show, the Four Compatible Podcast, a couple weeks back before I had ended up beating it, and I stick to what my initial thoughts were. It turns out I was about halfway through the game at that point, and I stand by it at this point. This is the worst game I've ever played that I recommend everybody play, if that makes any sense. There's tons of terrible things about this game that we'll be breaking down one by, or at least I will. I don't know how you felt about it personally.
No, there are definitely some flaws in there.
But at the same time, it's such a unique experience that's quite amazing in what it accomplishes that I think every gamer should experience. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that for now. How about yourself, good sir?
I pretty much agree with that.
That it's the worst game ever that everyone should play.
I agree in that there are a lot of really serious flaws that in a better game would have been addressed way earlier. There are things that if it was not such a good story and a well put together experience, nobody would have played this game. At one point, I'm working on a review of it for my site, and at one point I referred...
Cheap plug.
Oh, yeah, the Impoverished Geek website. That's impoverishedgeek.com.
With the story. Interesting. I kind of want to start there.
Okay. Oh, yeah, well, my one thing that I said is it's kind of like Dragon's Lair. Do you remember Dragon's Lair in the arcades back in the day?
I do not.
Okay, it was this game that actually played off a Laserdisc, and you had to press the button, like the directions on the joystick or an action button at the right time. Otherwise, you just died. That was it.
Yeah.
And it was expensive at the time. It was like a 50 cent or 75 or $1 game at a time when most games were recorded. This is like the early 80s, like 84, 85.
Yeah, that is quite expensive.
And it was like it was big because it was like done by Don Bluth, who's a former Disney animator. And so it looked amazing. And you saw this game, you're like, and it's like the coolest game you've ever seen at that point in time. Like, this game looks amazing. Why don't other games look like this? Well, it's because there's not much gameplay involved. It's more about knowing when to press a button in the right direction. And that's kind of evolved into the form of the QTE, which this game relies heavily upon. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse.
At the same time, like, I brought this also up on the show. It's weird because, like, with Heavy Rain, that was a true game of branching story arcs where if you missed a QuickTime event, it can completely alter the outcome of the game that you're playing. You can get a completely different ending.
Right.
Beyond Two Souls, which is from the same group, Quantic Dream, I feel just gives you the illusion of that same effect that Heavy Rain did so well. I missed plenty of QuickTime events. I don't know. I don't think it was my fault, and I play a lot of video games, so I feel confident saying this. The game just didn't pick up my button presses quick enough sometimes.
And I think that the way it was designed, I think because basically the way it works is when you're supposed to do a directional press, the game slows down and you press a direction, and you're supposed to figure out which direction to press. And early on, they give you some indicators, but they don't always do that. And it's hard to know whether you're supposed to dodge by moving backward or go into, like, if someone's attacking you, whether you want to dodge them or go in and go on the offensive during their attack to catch them.
Yeah.
So, and I think a lot of that was not obvious.
Yeah. And for me, since I did end up missing a bunch of QuickTime events, it didn't change the outcome of the story that much. We'll get to the ending later, but I'm just going to briefly talk about it. There's only really 5 major endings, I think. 4 on the one side and 1 on the other.
I guess.
And I watched them all, and those were all very different, but they were only really done by your final choice. They weren't as much like, if you miss a quick time event or choose to do something a little differently in the beginning, it really doesn't alter those 5 main endings.
No, there's slight variances.
Yeah.
And all the endings depend on just a couple scenes.
Yeah.
If you save spoiler time, if you save all the homeless people in the burning building, that affects the ending. Who was
Which I did.
Yeah. How could you not? You walk past them all.
Yeah.
You have to be a real asshole. I'm talking to you assholes. And then
there was the one where I can't even think of his name, even though I just beat this game. That's how impactful some of these characters are. The main dude who loves the main
Ryan.
Ryan?
Yeah, I remember it because my name is Bryan. His name is Ryan.
Okay.
One letter off from being in love with Ellen Page.
There's that whole option of I forget how it comes about, but
when he's being
tortured, yeah. Mm-hmm. So either he loses an eye or he doesn't.
Mm-hmm. I don't count that as an ending.
So all that happens is either he wears an eye patch for the remainder of the game, covering the one bad eye, or he doesn't. Regardless, he gets out of it. Regardless, the lines are the same. Regardless, everything is the same, except depending on the path you chose, he's wearing an eye patch or not. And that's what I'm talking about with the illusion of choice, the illusion of branching endings. There's
another character as well who can die. And I can't remember his name. It's the one played by Kadeem Hardison. Cole. Cole can die. I guess it's possible to save him. He died on my playthrough.
Cole? Who the fuck is Cole?
The black dude. The assistant to...
he was alive in mine. I didn't know he could die.
Yeah,
he helped me all the way to the end.
No, he died in mine. But it doesn't... It just affects, like...
minor parts
of... it's a minor bit of the ending. So it's not the same level of interactivity as Heavy Rain.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I think there's a reason for that.
What's that?
I think this is a prequel for what Sony is hoping will be another series. That's what I think.
So you think we may see a Beyond Two Souls 2?
I think we may see a Beyond...
3 Souls?
Well, 3 Souls or Beyond...
the next hire me for your marketing. Hire me for your marketing, Sony.
Yeah, Beyond 2 Souls-er.
2 Souls-er.
Yeah. Because at the end of the game, if you choose to... Well, I guess at the end of the game, if you choose Beyond as well. Either way, it's kind of hinted at that the story, not necessarily the story, but the world's interaction with the infra world is not over.
Yeah.
And if you choose, for example, to live and go back to your homeless buddies, you come to realize that the baby that the other girl had is the quote unquote savior of the future. It's
the successor to what you're doing.
Right.
As you find out that you were to your mother, she becomes the next in line, so to speak.
Right.
I do want to focus on the ending at the end, and we'll talk about all the choices and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Should we just kind of start? Okay, so briefly, in the event you are one of the few people who just don't plan on playing this game and want to hear me and Bryan talk about it, that's fine. A very, very brief synopsis, I suppose, of the overall game is you're following this character, Jodie, and you play as her, and she has a permanently attached entity to her that she calls Aiden. And the game goes very out of order over the course of, I believe, 15 years.
Yes.
from early childhood at 5 or 6 years old, or maybe a little older, up to 20-something. And it hops back and forth. It'll take you from a moment she has as a child to close to the end of the game, then throw you in the middle of her life, then back at the beginning, and it hops around to and fro the whole game, and
it doesn't do it in a way that necessarily makes sense. And by the time you're at the end of the game, you know everything you need to know, and there are no real questions. But it's every jump pretty much leaves you with a bunch of questions until the very end. It's not done like in a way that really makes sense, and we're not the only people to think this. Pretty much every reviewer has said that the jumps seem to be kind of arbitrary. It does keep things interesting. Let's be honest. If you just played all the little baby Jody or toddler Jody, whatever stuff, it'd be really boring.
yeah.
But
To me, it's a weird aspect of that game, the hopping around, because I absolutely hated it. And Bryan beat it before me, so I was texting him with problems and questions and like what the like all the surprising moments that hopped out. I was like, oh, what the fuck, and he'd probably be laughing at the other end because he went through it a few days before me, and to me it bothered me because the story did not make sense. I don't care what anybody says, it does not make sense until about the 80% mark.
yeah, no, you're right.
That's terrible game design. I don't have the exact statistic in front of me, but it's something ridiculous of the amount of people that don't actually finish games. And if you have to take until the 80% mark to have the story make any kind of sense without it just seeming like weird flashes of like random events in somebody's life before they all start kind of tying together in your mind, that to me is really, really poor level design. The redeeming quality, why I said it's kind of like a tale of two heads or whatever, is once you do hit that 80% mark and you hit that oh moment, you kind of respect what happened, like how they did it. You kind of, everything makes sense and you become at peace with it. You're kind of like, oh, that was really cool. But if you have to sit through 80% of anything for that moment, that's bad. In my opinion. You only appreciate it if you complete the game.
There are movies. Here's the thing about. First of all, I think no one would argue he's trying to make an interactive movie more than he is trying to make an interactive game. He's very much doing an interactive story, and the gameplay style kind of backs that up. There are movies that do jumping through time properly. And I'm not talking like Back to the Future time travel. I'm talking like Memento, where there's two separate time streams going back and forth.
I appreciate. Have you ever seen the movie Go?
Yes.
I love the movie Go.
Yes.
That's really cool. You're reliving the same
like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, through 4 or 5 different people's eyes.
Yeah.
And you cross each other in the story. You're like, oh, I just saw their story. Now I'm the other character and I'm going to run into them.
Yeah.
That's cool too. But yeah. Sorry.
No, it's and I think that Beyond Two Souls tries to do that, but doesn't quite achieve it.
You know what was really good at that? Resident Evil 6.
Oh, Jason's favorite game. There's a book that I'm writing, or have written, that's in the process of being rewritten, that follows 2 characters, and they're separate timelines. And I've only had one person read it so far, and they enjoyed it, and it made sense to them, so they didn't complain about it. But both timelines that are going parallel, like one takes place like from the person as like a teenager to adulthood, and the other is another character as an adult, but their stuff is kind of intertwined. But they're still chronological. So when you take things out of chronological order, it's very difficult to make it make sense. It's been done, but not often. And Memento is a good example because Memento doesn't make much sense to get to the end. I don't know if you've seen Memento.
I have. It's been a long time, so.
Because basically Memento does half the scenes are going forward and half the scenes are going backward. So, but you kind of, toward the middle, it starts to make sense to you, not toward the last scene.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's the biggest problem, is that there are a lot of questions that don't get answered till the end. And I wasn't really satisfied with some of the answers. They were reasonable and interesting, but I think that it would have been okay to reveal some of that stuff earlier. Like who Aiden is could have been revealed earlier. I think. Right around maybe there's a reason. Like she couldn't know until she gets to the end. I guess is like because they can't. But it's weird because they never really go into how they communicate. Aiden is able to freaking write on a mirror.
I didn't makes no sense because you have certain points where like, okay, this is something that the game never explains, and it still does not make any sense, even though I beat the game. Why are the different characters different colors? I get that, blue you cannot control, red you can either kill automatically or take complete control of, and so on and so forth. Why is this character able to be controlled by me, and why is this one not? Other than that's just the way the story has to go, because it would be too easy for you to take control of this guy who's in blue.
My opinion of it was, the reason they made it that way wasn't gameplay, but I think that the idea was that those were their auras, so you could see their temperament or their personality. But they never said that in the game. That's just me trying to give a reason for it. Yeah,
but if Aiden truly is that entity that can do all that and literally move objects across the room and take control, like your aura isn't gonna block out an entity.
He's greatly limited for the purposes of telling the story and moving the story forward.
It's a cop-out. That's what I'm trying to get at. It's almost like you didn't want to explain it, so you're just like, fuck it, people won't notice. I noticed.
Yeah, no, I agree that it's A, it's not explained, and B, like, the colors do tell you what you can do with them, but that just seems kind of like, well, why can't I do it to that guy? Why can't I do it to that guy? Yeah.
It could have been explained in a quick 20 or 30 second piece of dialogue that said the people in blue just don't believe in the spirit world,
right?
And so they're unable to be taken over,
manipulated. Yeah,
and the red people are very spiritual people who do believe in the afterlife and all these other things. They're solved. Is there holes in the theory and all that stuff? Sure. But you took the time, and I just came up with that off the top of my head, and that makes perfect sense to me already. It could have been that simple, and then something cool you could have added toward the end of the game once all the spirits start rising and everything's going to hell, and the CIA building, whatever the hell it's called, paranormal investigation.
The Department of Paranormal Activity or something like that.
Once that whole building's being taken over and crumbling, then everybody could have turned into red because now they obviously believe in it, and it still would have been fine with the story because at that point when you're controlling Aiden, you don't want to take anybody over because you're mainly Jody anyway,
right?
Trying to finish the game off, so and you guys get separated and all that, but I don't know.
So I agree that there are a lot of holes in the game. Not necessarily in terms of story. The story does make sense for the most part. But
Is there beyond 2 holes? Yes. Okay. So
we can just kind of...
Let's do that.
I love doing that.
So it's apparently a very small budget, surprisingly, considering the cast.
Well, see, that's another great thing. It's very well voice acted by a few characters. Willem Dafoe does a great job. Ellen Page does a great job. A couple other characters do a decent job. And the rest of the cast is just very, very poorly acted. Really bad. And it kind of shows what happens when you blow your wad on a few guys and don't hire talented actors elsewhere. How do you... Okay. Let's talk about the voice acting. How did you feel about it? Because, to me personally, there's plenty of amazing voice actors that deal in video games.
Sure.
To me, it almost became a distraction trying to get immersed in this world and then seeing Ellen Page and William Dafoe up on the big screen. Like, it at certain points, it almost took me out of the element, where it's kind of like you can't have anyone that famous with that big of a face when you're like to me at least this happens. You try to get immersed in the world, you try to forget about your surroundings, you forget about all the other crap that's going on in your life because you're so focused on the story. That's what's happening in your brain, and then you're trying to get lost in these cutscenes or whatever, and you're trying to forget the parts that don't make fucking sense and all this jumping around nonsense. And you finally get a little immersed, and then they pull you right back out because you're just like, that dude, that's the dude from Boondock Saints. I can't take him seriously.
That was a firefight!
I would say, I'm not quite there. But it may just be that I can appreciate...
What, you think you're better than me?
No. It's not yeah, no. I'm trying to rephrase it because that's not what I want to say. That doesn't get to me, is what I mean. Like, I don't get in that mode where, like, if I see somebody famous, I see them that way. I mean, there are some actors where, yeah, they're the same character in everything they do, and you're like, oh, yeah, look at that guy again.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, kind of. He does yell a lot.
He's very angry all the time.
But I don't think that Ellen Page is necessarily that person. Willem Dafoe loves taking different roles. He kind of has that same air about him. He's a very charismatic person. So I can see him being a distraction more than Ellen Page. I think that Ellen Page tends to melt into her roles more, just because she tends to play a more reserved character, whereas Willem Dafoe is a very charismatic and in-your-face. Still a great actor. But
no, I'm not taking anything away from either of them. It's just weird to see them in the video game realm is what I suppose.
I can see how it can be off-putting. But for the most part, I thought...
with all the big voice actors, aside from like Nolan North and Troy Baker, I don't know what half these people look like anyway. I know their voices because they reoccur throughout different games, and I appreciate a lot of them. They do an excellent job, and they cost money. These guys aren't the professional voice actors in video games aren't cheap. They don't cost as much as professional actors like this, but
voice acting in games is a lot of work because unlike a movie where you do like a few hours of voice work, there can be 30, 40 hours of voice work, especially when you have like branching paths and stuff like that. There's a lot of work involved.
Plus, with all the games evolving the way that they are, even strictly voice actors of the past are pretty much expected to do full mocap nowadays. You know what I mean? Every game is your body's being traced, your body language. You are essentially turning into a full actor. It's just weird for me. There's plenty of great people already in the industry. I don't think they needed to stray from it. It's cool they tried something new. I don't think it worked as well as they planned for it to work.
Well, I think it's because David Cage really wants to make a movie that's interactive. I think that's really what...
Like an actual movie?
Yeah. I think he and Kojima are both people who are more interested in... I don't want to say replicating Hollywood, but kind of building upon Hollywood. Whereas you look at like a Naughty Dog or I guess BioShock, and they're more about adding story to the game, whereas Kojima is more gamey than Cage, but he has long cutscenes, like half-hour plus cutscenes in those Metal Gear games. They get out there, and I think they're more about adding a game to story. You know what I mean? Like it's a different philosophy.
I know what you're saying, but I slightly disagree with that because I think they still want to make games. Like
no, they do, but they want to make the games more like Hollywood, whereas they want to make.
Okay, that makes more sense. You know I don't think they want to make movies.
No. They want to kind of supplant Hollywood and take over.
Because I think both those guys have come far enough in their career and are millionaires where if they wanted to make a movie,
they could.
They just make a fucking movie.
Yeah.
You know, would it be some AAA, huge Hollywood $billion budget? No, not right off the bat.
Not
Absolutely
after Final
not.
Fantasy.
But can they make a movie? Yeah, those guys can go out and make a movie for a few $1 million. Kevin Smith did it with 20-something grand. So
well, that was a different time.
Yeah, but you can.
But you could do it for cheap.
In the age of Kickstarter, where you can have other people take all the risk for you and stuff. These guys can go out and make a movie.
Yeah.
You know, I don't. So.
But I think that was why he got these big actors in there was to have I think it was to get more people to try the game because the other thing about Beyond Two Souls, you didn't play with the app, did you?
No.
I played the game with the app as well, and the app is designed to be easier to play with.
See, I think
the game actually becomes easier when you use the app.
I think the entire game was dumbed down because of the app integration.
No, because the app plays differently from the game.
No. I just okay. Like there's the military scenes when you become part of this. I'm just gonna keep calling them the CIA because whatever. I don't fucking care about the 9 initial name that paranormal unit had. But when she becomes part of the CIA, there's the running and gunning is hold X to run to this part and then just tap R2 and you auto shoot the guy. That's not a shooting scene. That's not a gun scene. No. And that was dumbed down.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
For app integration. And I feel the whole game controlled like that. Like everything was very, very dumbed down. Yeah. And even parts where you're aiding and you're either crushing somebody or possessing their soul, it's clear the two dots are the two reticles are controlled by your sticks, and you have to match them up. And it's clear that if you were to play on the app, you'd be using
Yes, two
dual
fingers,
touch
yeah.
and doing the same fucking thing. So it's to me, it's like the game could have controlled way better had they just focused on the DualShock.
Yeah, but I find myself wondering, because you played Heavy Rain, and Heavy Rain had some similar elements to it. Heavy Rain had more freedom of movement than Beyond generally has, but didn't have any of the heavy action that Beyond has either.
Yeah.
So who's to say on that regard? But when you play with the app, the gameplay actually gets simplified even more. When you play as Aiden and you're using the app, you don't have free movement, which I think was a huge detractor to the fun. Most of the fun that I had in the game was playing as Aiden, flying around and looking at stuff and checking stuff out. When you play with the app, he moves between pre-selected points. So you tap the whatever device you're using, you just tap the screen, and he moves to the next point.
Oh,
It
it takes all the exploration out of it.
It does. It takes all the exploration out of it. You still control Jody directly. Like, you move your thumb like on a virtual D-pad, basically. Only the whole screen is the pad. It kind of follows your movement and figures out what you want to do. It works, but it's not as fun as using the controller. It's simplified.
Now that you talked about controlling Aiden, it actually made me think of something else that bothered me a lot about the control of that game. Something else they didn't explain. You can only go through certain walls.
Yes.
There's no rhyme or rhythm or reasoning to it. It's just
there's a reason. It's just not a good one. We didn't program that part.
Exactly. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's another cop out. It's like I can go 6 walls that way because the game wants me to, and I can only go. And I can go downstairs because the game will allow me to explore a bit, but I can't go upstairs through the ceiling because no. And the other thing is the fucking range is all fucked up. Like when you get too far as Aiden, the screen starts flickering. And
they do explain why that is, but there's no...
Because you're too far.
Because you're too far, yes.
But it makes no sense because if you go 2 screens that way, and it'll allow you to, it'll start getting fuzzy because you're going in the wrong direction. But it'll allow you to go 8 screens that way, and all the connection isn't affected then.
Yeah, I mean, it'll still connect you. It'll still hit you at some point.
Why can't I only go 40 feet that way and 150
but
feet
it's
that
not.
way?
But it's not like a set range.
And that's broken.
Yeah, I agree. That was very...
It's a cop-out.
It takes you out of the game, and it's really frustrating because, it's an invisible wall of a different type. And it does take you out of the game. I understand why it exists.
I get it, too. I'm not trying to be like a...
Right. It's just a technical problem, not a design problem, necessarily. You know what I mean? Like
These are all the things that slowly amount to me calling it the worst game that everyone should play. The worst best game.
Yeah.
It really fucking is, and it's undescribable. I think that what I'm saying would only make sense after you beat the game. You're kind of like, yeah, he really hit it on the head. That was a really bad game, but I'm really, really glad I played it.
Well, the thing is, it's a good story.
Yeah,
it's very entertaining. It's well acted. The music is really good. I like the music.
The music was cool. It was a good high point. The lighting's awful.
See, I didn't notice the lighting.
Oh my god, it is a pretty game. Like every scene that was sort of dark was just
very dark, or
nearly unplayable. And like there's the forest scene when you're running away from the police.
Oh yeah, you can't see a damn thing.
It's even like the driving scenes. There's like that one scene where you're on that motorcycle.
Yeah,
and like. It's got that one bullshit headlight on it, and I get it. It's nighttime. I get it. I've played games that use nighttime. It can't be that dark where you can only see that small. It was literally this much in front of me I could see on my big 50-inch TV or whatever the fuck I play, 46-inch that I play on. It was embarrassing. Everything else is blacked out. It's like, are you fucking kidding? And you're going really fast, and you're trying to run away from the cops, and you can see 4 feet in front of you with the little bullshit headlight that's shaking on top of the motorcycle.
I may not have noticed that because do you play on a plasma or an LCD?
LED.
LED. So it's LCD, LED backlit. I play on a plasma, and they never adjust these games right for plasmas, so don't mess with the brightness level because it's always weird on a plasma.
I turned mine up because of those seeds, and it still wasn't light enough.
Really? See, I didn't notice that. Like, I can see what you're saying, and I can get the forest scene was very hard to see. And on top of it being hard to see, there's also some invisible walls in your way.
There's a lot of invisible walls.
Which makes it hard to navigate around that forest. I was like, I'm going to die in this forest. There's lights all around me for people coming in, and I can't see 2 feet in front of me. I don't know what I'm doing here.
Another scene that did it for me was, I forget what the hell the thing was called that you were trying to shut down. There's that machine that you're trying to set down that lets all the souls in, like toward the middle of the game. And
the first one, not the Chinese one, but the first one.
The first one, not the Chinese one. And you're running through and
like a burning building, that one?
No, it was like a big empty warehouse that you had to keep going up rafters and up ladders and doing all this crazy shit.
Right, but before that, when you're getting to it, the building is burning, and then you go to the frozen room, and then you get into the... Right?
Hell, I don't remember.
Okay, fair enough.
But all the spirits are attacking you, like a lot are attacking you. It's like where she's grabbing the handrails, the ghosts are tearing at your feet, you take control. You're aiding the whole time.
Yeah, it kind of goes back and forth.
Yeah. And then you're ripping apart the ghost and trying to let her proceed. And when you switch back to her, the camera angles are broken and the lighting is broken. And I didn't even die, so it's not like I'm blaming cheap deaths on it. I survived the whole thing.
It's just weird
on one path. On one pass, it was very weird. It was like because you can't control the camera at that point. It's deadlocked on. Picture old school Mario 64, where it's just like really bad, weird camera angles that didn't make much sense.
Yeah.
And then, but you couldn't even really adjust them. You're just running, and like something would grab you that you couldn't see because it's off camera, and then it would tell you to switch to Aiden, and then like you're like, where do I go from there? Like there's a couple points where I stopped, and I'm just stopped. It's supposed to be a running scene.
Yeah.
I'm just, where the fuck do I go? And then I slowly figured it out and kind of went up ladders and came back this way. Did all this shit to cross over. It was just, it was a headache, dude.
Yeah, no, I can definitely agree with that sentiment.
Okay. How about, we'll talk about Mark's favorite scene. And after that, because this is one of those scenes, we're talking about the desert scene. That I feel could have been cut
almost entirely
from the game, and wouldn't have affected it at all.
I think it could have been DLC.
Yeah, and after we talk about the desert, I'd like to talk about other scenes that we feel had no place in this game.
Okay.
So the desert, what'd you think of that?
Okay. Didn't entirely hate it because there was a nice little mystery in there, but completely unnecessary to the plot. There's a slightly tiny reveal about the nature of the infraworld and what exists in it, but you spend like 3 or 4 hours playing this desert scene, and that reveals like 4 seconds. So it's like next to nothing. I hate to rail on David Cage. David Cage is not American. He often tries to capture Americana and doesn't do quite a good job of it. If you play Heavy Rain, you're in a Philadelphia that's completely populated by people who have French accents.
Yeah.
And the one black guy you meet is the biggest black stereotype of all time. Like in every way. Like he took them all. I'm surprised the guy didn't have cotton come out of his pockets. And I think it's the same kind of thing here where they're, it's basically, she stumbles upon a Navajo home. Do the Navajo live in Arizona or New Mexico? I can't remember where it is. It doesn't matter. It just kind of does the very stereotypical Native American family. It wasn't like offensive. Maybe a little bit. It's
a little offensive. Like, I'm not even Native American. I'm Italian. But like, I know enough about it. I don't know everything about it, but I've been to school. We heard
everything that he saw on another TV show.
Yeah,
we didn't do any research into it.
Yeah, I went to school my whole life. We learned a lot about the near genocide that the Europeans forced upon them and their current living conditions. And with them, it's kind of like two worlds. Either they've assimilated into American culture and they're just kind of living their lives, or there's reservations that still exist to this day, sadly. And that's and they try to maintain as much of their heritage as possible on the reservations, and that's really where the split is. I suppose there's a third party that does the reservation thing while exploiting, not exploiting, that's a terrible word for it, because they do rightfully deserve it, but like, I guess what I'm getting, stuff like that, where they're still very tied into their past, taking on a whole new view on capitalism. So they're kind of in this gray area of Indians who are sticking it back to the Europeans, but kind of going against their roots all at the same time. So it's kind of weird.
Or using their roots.
Yeah,
Depending on the casino.
yeah. So
Yeah.
So I mean, to me, like that was really weird, and
It just didn't seem like anything was right. It didn't fit.
it had no point.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing, I guess, ties into because like at the end of the game, what's his name, John? What was the Indian's son's name? Jay?
Yeah, I'm just looking. I got IMDb right up here.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So Jay, he's one of the choices at the end.
And you have no idea why.
As apparently a sexual interest.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that vibe at all during the 4 hours of playing in the desert.
Look, I didn't catch it with Ryan either. I don't know why she liked that guy.
Oh, okay. I want to talk about him later too.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll go back to that.
See, that I did understand because there was date nights, there was kissing, there was
Well,
options.
I get that stuff happens.
Okay.
But yeah.
None of that happened on the
Jay,
reservation.
absolutely not.
And all of a sudden at the end, it's just like, ooh, I want to run back to him because we love each other and we want to
And she
spend
was
the
there
rest
for
of our...
like 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In retrospect, yeah, she was there for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It didn't make sense. Like, the whole first day you're there, you're performing stupid farming tasks, sitting down to eat, trying to get conversation out of these guys.
You know what it was? It was kind of the magical Negro moment, but with Native Americans. What? You've never heard of the magical Negro?
I have not.
Okay, it's this movie trope where a mystical black person teaches a white person everything they need to know.
Okay.
And helps them through a difficult situation. And then they just don't matter anymore. Because they've served their purpose.
Yes.
And it's kind of like what this scene was. Except they were Native Americans instead of black people.
So they were just showing her a trick or two.
Yeah, they're just kind of like setting her on her path. Because as soon as this little segment is over, she just hops on a bike and goes, man.
Yeah, she
just
like,
goes.
thanks to the bike. See you later.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, and then the fucking weird grandma who won't talk for 30 years, but you pop along and
suddenly she's talking.
All of a sudden she's a fucking chatterbox.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
It's a very convenient bit of plot line.
And there's that weird tribal thingy that all of a sudden the whitest white girl on the planet who spent 2 days on a reservation is just throwing fucking Indian curses out the fucking window. No problem, because she's just that good.
Right, yeah. It's silly.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't even know what... Like, you said there was a minor tie-in. I can't even think of it.
The spirit that they raised... Remember how... Okay.
The big-ass thing.
The big-ass thing?
Yeah.
Was pulled from the infraworld.
That's it.
That's it. So they're showing you that there's something else in there besides spirits. There's also the demons or whatever. And when you go back underwater, you see a similar thing flying around. It's completely unnecessary, or it could have been covered elsewhere. That the only thing that you learn about the plot is that little bit that there are other things, and that other people have brought things over and pushed them back. But that's not much, and it could have been done in other ways. That all could have been done in the previous scene where you're closing up the tear.
See, it would have made more sense if, say you found out that your mom, once you find her at the mental hospital, who you later find out had your powers, they locked her up, blah, blah, blah. Maybe she learned all that stuff from the mute grandmother. Mm-hmm. And you find out the mute... Then you're starting to have this lineage of these entity ropers or whatever. Right. You have that old Native American woman who passed it on to your mom, who then you pass it on to, who later is going to come out from the redheaded chick's baby. And, it's just... Now you have 5 lines of lineage. And I don't know. Because that old lady already kind of knew how to fight the power.
Yeah, she just didn't do anything about it. What a bum.
I don't know. All right. What else do you feel like... I know a big part to me of something that... It's not as blaring as the desert scene that it had no part of the game, but it's pretty damn close. And that's the homeless scene.
The homeless scene only served to set up the baby for the ending.
Okay. Don't you think that was a little stretched out, though? I mean, you're learning how to beg.
Mm-hmm.
Did you end up playing that dude's guitar?
No, I did something else. I can't remember what I did.
Because I ended up playing, because we split up, because you're learning how to beg for money for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting kicked out of a supermarket for being a bum. But once you raise $5 or $6, no, excuse me. They won't even let you into the supermarket because you're a bum. But once you raise $5 to buy a sandwich, then they mysteriously let you into the supermarket.
They don't buy as much. They buy cans of tuna.
Whatever the fuck it is. In the same clothing. And keep in mind, you don't have a dialogue with the convenient security guard.
No.
Who's standing outside the supermarket to apparently judge whether a bum has the $5 on them or not.
Well, it's
allow them into the supermarket.
It's the hip new supermarket.
That has the security.
It has a bouncer.
Who's just... That's pretty much against every constitutional right we have. You can't just go, you don't look like you have money. Mm-hmm. If you have no business there, stores have a right to kick you out.
Yeah.
But they cannot refuse admittance to somebody who has money based on the idea that they don't. You can't just go, well, you look poor, you're not allowed to shop here.
Right. I agree. It's completely out of place. It's an interesting turn, and it kind of helps explain this point A to point B, but it is long, and it.
I just didn't end up caring about any of them. Like, you got introduced to a cast of 3/4 new characters, whether you count the baby or not.
Right.
There's a black dude who's happy-go-lucky drunk. Mm-hmm. You got the guy who becomes essentially like your best friend in all this, and the pregnant woman who later has the kid who's supposed to be your successor.
And the junkie.
Oh, and the junkie. I forgot all, but that's how enthralling these characters are. Where it's just like, I didn't care about... I mean, I guess you care a little bit about that dude who kind of took you under his wing.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, there is like from a story perspective, it does build a little bit, and it kind of gets Jodie back on her feet for a moment before she gets attacked. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, is my bigger complaint about the homeless scene. She's in a coma for 3 months, and the CIA doesn't find her until like the day she wakes up.
Yeah.
Really? And she's there under her actual name, and the CIA doesn't find her? Bullshit.
I didn't even think of that, dude.
Yeah.
That is another big
That was
fucking...
my biggest problem with that part. It wasn't the homeless part. It was right after she's homeless, when she's in the hospital. Also, I'm sorry, but if you are homeless and you show up at the hospital and you're in a coma, you're not getting cared for 3 months. They are turfing your ass.
Oh, yeah.
They are turfing your ass.
It's true. They can't incur that kind of debt.
No.
I don't know.
Not the way things are currently. If you were in France, yeah, they would, because they have a different kind of healthcare system, I believe.
Yeah, that's probably where it bled over from.
Yeah. But here in the U.S., no. You are out the door.
Yeah.
So that made no sense to me.
Unless you have primo insurance.
Well, and I guess you could say that she had insurance from the military because she was in the military. But if she used that insurance, they would have found her like day 2, not day 30. Or day 90, because it was 3 months.
And it was real convenient how the day they figured it out was the day she woke up.
Yeah.
Not 10 minutes before they were bursting in her door and she had to hop out the fucking window.
Yeah, no, so that was silly. That was straight up silly. I like the homeless scene just because it was a chance for her to get back on her feet, kind of a thing. Like it was her building herself back up after falling, you know? So I kind of got that, and it was interesting-ish. Except for you're right, the bouncer thing was weird as well. I forgot about that part. So I didn't hate it as much as I don't want to say you hated it. I don't know if you hated it or you just felt it was out of place.
Okay. It was out of place and it was very lengthy.
It was a little
for
long.
what we got out of it.
I think a lot of the game was about. I don't know. Everything kind of felt a little long. In that game, a little bit, because, and I think I had said this in a text to you. He's extending the story gameplay style. He's using video game tricks to extend the story that doesn't need to be extended. When you're telling a story, you stick to the essentials for the most part. Unless you're doing like a big, huge epic, you just stick to the essentials. So, if you see a movie, they cut all sorts of stuff out of movies. And it's like he cut nothing out of this game. I'd love to see what was cut. If he was cutting stuff, I'd love to see it. Because, man, what was so bad about that stuff that he took that out and left everything else in?
I don't know. Was there any other scenes you think, like, there's a lot of essential scenes. I think the hospital scene with the mom.
Jodie is a teenager rebelling and possessing Cole. didn't seem to.
Did you get
serve a
caught?
purpose. Yes.
Was that part? I don't understand if there was something you could, because I got caught.
Yeah, I
at
don't
the
know.
gate. At the gate.
Yeah,
like in the car.
driving
Yeah.
out. That's when I got caught too.
Okay, see, I don't know
Yeah.
if that was everybody got caught or if that's one of those
I don't know.
arcs that
I
could
think
have
it
possibly changed everything.
I think it is, and you'd think Cole would treat her differently after that.
Here's the thing. Let's talk about Cole for a minute. Because apparently they're best fucking friends, but from what I saw, all he did, minus the last scene, was be a dick to her entire life. No, you can't do this. He did it nicely. He's like, absolutely not. Cupcake?
Princess.
No, you can't do that. Princess?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Lovely girl. Just the whole game. Just denying her any sort of pleasure, but backing it up with a compliment. And apparently he's like a big brother figure to her, which I never got. But at the very end, it was
I
all.
got that that's what they were going for, but I didn't understand why that was the relationship. I also got that Nathan was like a father figure to her.
Yes.
And you can kind of see, and that gets twisted around a bit as well later in the game.
I didn't like what they did with him at the end.
No, I didn't either.
Like
that was unnecessary. That was unnecessary.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it served as the catalyst for the final scene.
Yeah. If you wanted to hit one or two of yours, go ahead, and then I say we start talking about the end.
Sure. Okay. So I kind of feel that this game is a reverse BioShock Infinite.
Okay.
BioShock Infinite had lots of... It was like gameplay, action, scene, plot point. Run around, action, plot point. Whereas this is plot, action, plot, action, plot,
So,
action.
yeah, I agree with that. It's kind of like a reverse of what they were trying to do from Irrational Games. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
So that's why I said that they're kind of taking different paths on storytelling in games. And I also think that this game is a great case for games being less than $60.
I don't think anyone at Sony or Quantic Dream will agree with that.
Well, no, of course they won't, because they don't want game prices. But it's my opinion that if game prices would drop to like $30 to $40, I think they'd sell a lot more of them. And B, you can see that David Cage is he's trying to reach a broader audience with the app, with the simplified controls. And I think that's cool, but you have to go all the way with it. You can't make a game for everyone and make the point of entry $360, because you have to own a PS3 and you have to own Beyond Two Souls. As well as PS3 is $250 now, right? New?
200.
200 new now?
If you really want, because they got the 12 gig one, yeah.
Okay. So you're looking at $260 to play this game. Guess what? That's a lot of money. So if you want to broaden your audience, you don't broaden your audience by having a high barrier to entry.
Yeah. I don't know, because this game is obviously going to be profitable. I mean, it cost $27 million.
I'm sure it made that in the first week.
You figure they got to sell like 1.5 million copies or something to more than
recoup all the expenditures.
Yeah, it's probably even less than that. I'm just doing rough math in my head.
Yeah, I mean, you figure Sony takes half of what the game sells for.
So you're making $30 a disc, whatever that takes to account for 27 million. A few million units should do that.
Yeah.
They'll probably end up selling 3 or 4 million, make a ton of money, make Sony happy, everybody's happy.
Do you think they'll sell 3 or 4 million?
Yeah.
Because Heavy Rain only did like what, 1.5, 2, or did it do more than that?
Yeah, it was right around there.
I mean, this has bigger names in it.
This had commercials.
Yeah.
This Heavy Rain wasn't pushed.
No, but I don't think this was pushed very hard either compared to like. Well, I don't know. See, here's the problem. I don't watch a lot of TV anymore, so I don't know. Was there a campaign for this?
I don't know.
Versus
Yeah,
Last of
I
Us?
saw a bunch of commercials. The problem is, TV-wise, all I watch is sports. And video game commercials are very...
prevalent in sports?
Yes.
Yeah.
The problem is it's not normal stuff. It's like...
it's Call of Duty.
It's Call of Duty,
Like that, yeah.
it's Madden, it's FIFA, because, you're watching a football game. They're like, check out Madden 25. That's what you get.
Yeah, I mean, I watched some Comedy Central.
Halo, before Halo 4 came out, Halo was getting a lot of advertising time.
But I tend to walk out of the room when commercials play, so I don't catch them usually anyway. So like most of the TV I watch, I don't catch commercials to begin with. But you did see ads for Beyond Two Souls and all that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think even during the...
More ads than for The Last of Us? Less?
I don't remember seeing that many ads for
I don't
Last of
either.
Us.
That's the thing.
It was also in March, and football's not in March.
Well, that's true. So you weren't watching anything?
I was watching hockey, but...
Not a lot of...
Yeah.
No. Okay. So who knows about the advertising, really? I haven't paid attention. I don't catch it. But I think that what Cage is trying to do would be better served. And I hate to say this because it's always nice to have PlayStation exclusives, but this would have been a perfect game for the iPad or PC. Lower barrier to entry. Everybody already has these devices. I guess it could be done on an iPhone or Android as well. They have to sell it for less, but they'd reach a much bigger audience. I mean, there's over 100 million just iPads, not even counting iPhones, Android phones, Android tablets, and PCs and Macs out there.
Yeah.
When you look at what he's doing compared to like what Telltale is doing, they're not dissimilar. They're slightly different. I mean, he has a different take on it than Telltale does, and slightly different mechanics, but they're very similar. And I think Telltale gets a much bigger audience because of the fact that they put stuff out on more than just a PlayStation.
Very well could be.
I think
Plus,
that
Telltale gets better with age. Like, I know like Sam and Max have a lot of fans, but I think they were junk. And like with every series, minus Jurassic Park, which was a step backwards, they progressively get better. You know, from Sam Max, which was you understood what they were doing, but they weren't very good games, to Back to the Future, which had its arsenal of its own problems, but was a lot better. Then Jurassic Park took a minor step back. Then they hit Walking Dead, which was amazing. And now I'm in the middle of playing A Wolf Among Us. That seems like it's right there with Walking Dead. I won't know yet because I've only completed the 1 out of 5 episodes because that's all that's available currently. But you could tell I actually think this episode 1 is better than The Walking Dead's episode 1.
okay.
The thing is, I'm not giving that too much traction because Walking Dead, I don't feel really took off till the 3rd episode. And then it just got amazing. Whereas this one started off a lot stronger. Let's hope it doesn't drop off. So
I started The Walking Dead, but I haven't finished it yet. I have it on my Steam.
yeah.
But I think that Beyond Two Souls would have fit into that genre and that style better than it did as a PlayStation game.
This would have been interesting as an episodic game.
Oh, and that's the other thing. They could have sold it for more if it was episodic.
Like, think if it was 10 episodes.
Yeah.
Where you got those little 2 or 3 hour things, desert, all this stuff, and it took months to reveal what the fuck David Cage was thinking. Could have been interesting.
And he would have had more time to smooth things out and make them...
Like a huge cutscene at the beginning that gives you 15 minutes of forward and backstory and all this crazy stuff, and you play for 2 or 3 hours. And then every 2 weeks, a new episode comes out, and then the last week you get this huge, basically the ending, you just get to watch it.
Yeah.
I think that would have been cool.
Well, you kind of did just watch the ending on Beyond Two Souls, except for the mini game where you're getting grabbed by all the entities.
Yeah. All right. We should probably start wrapping it up. So let's hit on the ending because that'll probably eat up a bunch of time.
Okay.
And wrap
Well,
the
do you want to talk about Ryan and how much he sucks?
If you want.
Okay. Just really quickly. I don't know if you ever watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I have not.
Okay. There's a character in season 4 named Riley.
Okay.
Riley's nickname among fans is Captain Cardboard.
Captain Cardboard.
Because
I like him already.
He's a good guy, quote unquote. He's basically the perfect guy. Good looking, buff, very nice. Successful-ish. They're students in college. And he's like a TA.
Okay.
So for college, that's successful. He's kind of the love interest that season. But he's just boring as hell. He's so boring. So they call him Captain Cardboard.
Okay.
And I feel Ryan is kind of the same way. I don't like Ryan because the first time you really meet him, he's taking Jodie away from her surrogate family. And I don't know how you played it, but I played it as her being very upset about it.
About what?
Being taken away from the facility by the CIA. Did you have like, let's get the fuck out of here? Or were you like, don't take me out? Because you can kind of
She was
choose how
crying the whole time.
That's,
fucking...
Yeah, that's how it was for me too. And then like 2 weeks later, I think I want to bone this guy. He dragged you out of your home.
And he fucking lied to you.
And he treats you like well, he doesn't lie yet. That's before.
Okay. No. About okay, yeah.
The lie comes out. It's out of order. The lie comes after that. I mean, he lied to you before, probably too, but the lie that she figures out doesn't come until later on. And I can kind of get sometimes you like the person that's wrong for you, but it seems like he's a real dick to her. I don't know why she would like be so into him at that point in the game. Like, at no point in the game do they give any reason why she would like him.
And my God, does she put out quickly?
Yeah.
Did you sleep with him?
Yeah, I did.
Me too.
Did Aiden write on the mirror, "You have me, you don't need him"? Because he did that for me.
He didn't do that shit for me.
Yeah, Aiden wrote on the mirror, "You don't."
Well, how big of a
me."
dick were you being during the date?
To Aiden or to
To both of them.
I was ignoring Aiden and being nice to. Oh, wait, as Aiden?
Yes.
Oh no, I was behaving as Aiden, for the most part.
Oh, okay. See, I was sort of being a dick, but then I stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was their first date.
Mm-hmm.
They hung out for 10 minutes, and they were just in the sack.
Yeah, it was...
She's kind of slutty.
Well, I mean, I guess that depends on how you play it. And then the same thing at the party. Like, the party, which we completely glossed over. The party can be completely skipped.
I love the fucking party,
It's a cool
dude.
scene, but it serves no purpose whatsoever.
No, it doesn't. But the party was only 15 minutes, and it was cool.
Yeah.
You got so many choices. Like, okay, I've been wanting to ask you this since the Forward Compatible show.
Okay.
Why didn't you pay them back? I was nuts. Do you know what happens when you pay them back?
She goes all full carry, right?
You burn their house down.
Wow.
After they lock her up in the little fucking room of fun over there.
I played Jodie more reserved than I think most people did. I played her as a little more introverted, maybe more like myself. Goodness gracious, people keep texting me.
Yeah, I know, we're so popular.
So I kind of made her, because like even before that point, you kind of realize that she doesn't fit in. She doesn't want to be at the party. She's very uncomfortable at the party. I took that as just a chance to get out of the whole situation. That's probably what I would have done. I would not have gone full carry. I don't think. I may have done a little bit of something, but I wasn't sure if I'd be able to control her once it got to that point. And I didn't want... If it would have been just a matter of, like, knocking a dish into someone's head and walking out, that would have been cool. But
no, she straight up burns the fucking house
But do you have
down.
any control over it, or does she just go for it? Like, do you get involved in it?
No, after a while, it's... I think a lamp knocks over because Aiden... you beat the shit out of these little kids.
Like
Like you control Aiden. You take a table
and fling it at the kid?
Not like a little fucking table like this, like a computer desk,
right? And
you just crush these kids into the wall.
That's pretty hardcore.
It is. It's like messed up. I think you drop a chandelier on a chick. Mm-hmm. There's like some pretty intense shit happens.
Yeah,
and then. At some point, a lamp gets knocked. You're actually yelling at Aiden to stop.
Okay.
Because he snaps so bad during
that's why I didn't do it. Because I didn't know if you'd be able to control Aiden. And although I could see getting a little bit of revenge, I didn't want it to go to the point where she's like going full carry.
I was mad at that dude. He was dancing. He was talking me up.
He was an asshole.
He made me feel all pretty in my dress. And then he's like, "Oh, kiss me," and I kissed him, and then he starts calling me a whore.
Yeah.
What a dick.
Oh, he's a dick. He's an absolute dick. He's almost like a young Bryan.
We come forward compatible on this show.
So yeah, no, I completely, yeah, that scene was fun, but could have been, serves no purpose.
Oh, it has no point. I enjoyed it though.
Yeah.
Okay. So final choice. What'd you do?
I chose to live and go to see.
Hold on, we're going to get to that. You chose to live.
I chose to live, yes.
I'm going to explain. I went the other way. At the end of the game, it gives you two choices to finalize the game. You can either go beyond, where you die, and you get to revisit your mother.
Well, and here's apparently, you don't have to kill your mother.
I did kill her, though.
I did too.
I put her out of her misery.
Yeah, but apparently that counts
as one of the 27 names.
Yeah, as one of the deaths.
And then, so you get to go revisit, for me, in any case, I got to go visit my mother and the Elder Indians and some other people I don't even fucking remember, and Aiden, who, like Bryan spoiled earlier in the cast, ends up, you find out that he's your brother.
Yeah.
That died at childbirth. And to me, that would have been, this is what I want to talk about after the ending, is how the game should have ended like 4 times before it ended. But we'll close out the show with that. So, and then you could choose life, but for me, you would have lost Aiden, which was my deciding factor. Just the way my story played out. As I wanted to go with Aiden, which is why I went beyond. We could have finally spent some time together. That's how I liked my story ending. Or you could have chose life, and I didn't really know what was ahead of me. I didn't understand that the life branch, separated into another 4
Choice.
choices.
Yeah.
Once you're done. Beyond, if you choose that side, you're done. I also chose it because it's the name of the fucking game. I was just like, and
Yeah.
I did sit there for like 2 minutes, like, what should I do? Hold on 1 second. We got. Oh, I didn't realize it was on the desk. Look at that. So I elected to go with Beyond. Then there's the life bracket, which right after I made my choice, I'm on the fucking phone with Bryan, like, what'd you choose, dude? What'd you choose?
Yeah.
And you went with life,
I
right?
went with life.
Okay.
I watched all 4 life endings because it's not that hard to watch all 4 once you've seen the first one.
I watched all 5, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
the Beyond and then yeah. I chose to go to see Zoe, the baby, because I did not like Ryan, and I didn't get why she go back to see Jay, but there's no reason for her to be alone. But the alone one was also good.
It ended up being the coolest ending.
The alone one was kind of like the beginning of a sitcom, or not a sitcom, but like a TV series, where she goes on various adventures. She basically becomes the Incredible Hulk.
It made the most sense in retrospect.
It does, in many
after
ways.
I watched them all, I'm like, the alone one.
But and this is a part of the problem. There's no reason that the alone and the Zoe one couldn't have matched up a bit, where she goes on her own and eventually runs into these other people. And I like the Zoe ending because it has the most promise for a future game, because it's the next generation, so she's passing the torch. In the alone one, she kind of has Aiden with her. In the 3 endings, she still has Aiden with her eventually. Again, well, they don't really go into how much he's with her, whether they're still connected in the same way, or whether he just can watch over her.
Yeah.
They just kind of hint that he's
there's
still there.
always a hint, like the one where you go with what's his face, Ryan. He writes in the beach, I'm still here, or in the sand. You can't write in a beach.
Right. If you go alone, he fogs up the mirror.
Yeah.
And then with Jay,
he does something too. There's always a hint.
I think he makes smoke signals. I don't know.
Yeah.
How racist can it be?
So there's always a hint that he's still there, which is a fucking lie, because when I was doing my final choice, it was very specific that Aiden wouldn't be waiting for me if I chose the life half. He was the major deciding factor for me
you to go to Beyond.
on why I went to the Beyond side. Plus, I felt like I had done my job. I felt like it was a proper time for me to
go on
to finish the game. Like, that was a great culmination of everything I'd done, and you end up sacrificing yourself for everybody else that you supposedly became close with, like Ryan and Cole and all these other people that you end up. That was the other thing. I would end up saving all of them by sacrificing myself. So everybody else was alive. That's how my particular thing was laid out for me. I don't know.
Yeah, the ending was kind of false. First of all, false choices. Second, not great choices. I don't know. It didn't feel to me like there was a compelling reason to go beyond. Oh, you can see your mom. Yeah, I saw my mom. She was a vegetable.
But when you boil it down, to me, I'm happy I went to the Beyond side, because if I went to the life side and I chose anything but alone, I think I would have been upset
By the ending.
because. I'm sorry, the game did not do a very good job of wrapping me up in any of those characters.
Well,
I didn't care about the Native Americans. I
Right.
didn't care about Ryan. And I sure as fuck didn't care about the homeless people that I spent 4 or 5 weeks with.
And the thing is, yeah, they didn't spend enough time gameplay-wise with any of those characters to make it seem like there's a connection.
You don't
That's
get
part of
emotionally
it.
involved in any of
No, none of them has more than like a couple scenes.
And that's why I'm happy that I picked the way I did.
Yeah.
I'm actually content
That makes
I went
sense
beyond.
because you want to see with Aiden, she had much more connection with than anyone else.
That's why I stuck with them. And I felt closer to their mom than any of them, because that wasn't mine or my mom in this game's fault.
Right.
Especially right before that, they show you that cutscene where her mom, before she belonged in the insane asylum, you find out that her mom was fine and that she was wrongfully put in there because of the drugging by the general of the United States Army. And how much can that game hate on the U.S. government? Oh my God! You didn't catch all those vibes?
Well, it was all the military stuff, I think, there wasn't. I mean, it wasn't anything else. What else was there?
No, it was a lot of the corruption.
It was the military.
Fucking, yeah.
No, there's a lot of corruption. I mean, I'm not saying that it was nice about it, but there's corruption in the military. That's why they call it the military-industrial complex.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's corrupt in the way that they presented it to be.
Yeah, I don't
It's
think
more
so.
like just more. What do you call it? nepotism than
There's
it is,
more checks and balances in the system to allow something like that to not happen.
But I mean, they also have a Department of Paranormal Investigation, which we don't have.
So, I think for me, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to throw in there. For me, the last thing I really wanted to touch on was, as I'm playing it, because I'm texting Bryan, I know you know I'm getting close to the end with what's happening. You don't really want to spoil anything, and I appreciate that. There was still like another 2 fucking hours. There was literally like 3 or 4 different spots where I'm like, oh, this is the end. I'm watching the ending cutscene, and there's just more, and it just keeps coming. And it almost ended up taking away from the ending for me. Like
when she wakes up on the couch after going to China, and she walks out of the room?
No, that whole Chinese scene I don't think needed to happen. Before that even happened, there was this great cutscene. This is where you find out Aiden's your brother. Separated birth, all this other stuff, and I forget exactly how it was because now everything's kind of foggy and cloudy, and I don't know what came when and all that other business. But I felt like that was a logical stopping point.
Well, that was the end of the game when she finds out Aiden's her brother.
No, it happened.
That was while you're in the infra world, kind of like when they're shutting down the final reactor, not the Chinese reactor.
See, I'm telling you, everything's foggy.
No,
because
you're right.
And then and then there was like. Oh, that was, excuse me, that was the second or third time I thought it should have.
Oh, yeah.
Like the absolute first time was
beach.
the Titanic ripoff.
Yeah.
Where you and Ryan
are sitting on the ice.
You just saved America.
Just saved the world.
You saved the fucking world. And you're both sitting there on the ice, and no help is coming, and you're freezing to death, and you're going to die in each other's arms. And I am like, cool. I'm like, that makes sense. You're done. You fulfilled your prophecy, and now you can pass on. You gave Ryan several chances before that to bail, and he kept electing to stay and help out, which is kind of when you saw his better side and all that other stuff, and you die in each other's arms, and that's that. And then the game kept going. You got rescued, like from the brink of death, and then you're fine. And
there was no reason to have them have that scene. They should have had the truck there already waiting for them to come out of the water.
Yeah, I guess.
If they were going to live.
Yeah, that's a great fucking point. Why show that 15 seconds of them cuddling, dying, just to get rescued?
Ending fake outs are bullshit. They're stupid. Nobody likes an ending fake out except the person pulling the fake out.
And how fucking long did that scene where you're walking in to close the reactor or whatever it is, how long did that need to be? How many fucking spirits did you need to dodge? That could have been cut to like 15 seconds, and I would have got the point. Instead, it was literally like 3 or 4 minutes.
It would have been cooler. I never played through all of Metal Gear Solid 3, but I know that there's a scene where you have to confront every person that you killed. I don't know if you played it at all.
I don't remember that.
But like, there's one of the big enemies. Was it the Sorrow? I think he makes you confront all the people that you killed, like as they're ghosts. And if you had to fight off a ghost for each person you killed, that would have been interesting.
Yeah.
But you can't choose who you kill, so it doesn't mean anything. It had to be the type of thing where if you had the choice not to kill anybody throughout the course of the game, that you don't have to fight the ghosts or something like that. So then it could have been interesting, but that's not the case. They just threw a bunch of ghosts at you and said, fight them off! Press X! No, now square! Triangle, circle!
Yeah, that's all it was. It's
yeah.
Fucking, I don't know, man.
Yeah. It's an interesting experiment in storytelling. And it's a good story overall. It was an enjoyable story that I liked. And I do not have any hesitation about playing through or enjoying. But there were a lot of flaws in it. A lot of flaws.
All right, so should we hop into some final thoughts? Or did you more or less just
I think I just did mine. Do you have more?
Okay, I do.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so here's how we'll close the show out then. For me, I'll preface it with something I've already said twice in the show before. It is... Okay, I feel like I almost feel bad about the way that this podcast went, but I don't. It sounds like me and Bryan, I don't know, what do we have? Maybe 40, 45 minutes? I don't even know.
Like a full-on bitch fest?
Where we just sat here and complained about this game nonstop. And we didn't point out too many of the cool parts, which there were many of.
But you can't do it too much because it ruins... Well, I mean, anyone who's listening already knows.
Yeah.
Or
just doesn't care.
Yeah.
But there are an awful amount of cool parts, like...
The garage freaked me out so much.
Yeah. There was that weird mask that I was sure was going to do something that
Yeah.
never did anything.
Yeah, because it moved around.
To me, it didn't move. It was
like
just
those different
there.
parts of the garage.
It was just there, and it was fucking weird.
It was creepy.
Yeah.
That's why you asked me, where the fuck is this oil? I said it's on the shelf next to the evil.
So I mean, it could have been way better, but there was enough redeeming qualities throughout the game to justify a playthrough, and
It is, absolutely.
And I can't stress it enough how bad this game is. Like the we didn't even get everything. You know, we didn't
even talk about the military mission.
Yeah. Like we're not gonna sit here and rip the entire fucking game a new one. We just wanted to point out some of the major faults, but they're very apparent and very there. And then there was a lot of good stuff too, and that's why it's the worst
Game you'll recommend?
that you need to play. The worst game ever that you need to fucking play. At the end, it all comes together. It's one of those games where you might be 2 or 3 hours in if you decide to pick it up because of this podcast. And you'd be like, what the fuck were Tony and Bryan talking about? This sucks. Because I thought that the whole time. But Bryan told me about the ending. He didn't spoil anything. He's just like, the ending's cool. So I kept playing. I put my faith in Bryan, and he was fucking right. And I'm glad that I applied those 12 or 14 hours into this game. It's something as a gamer I feel everybody needs to experience. It has tons of flaws, it really does, but does it mean you shouldn't play the game? Absolutely not. Fucking play it. It's a cool game.
It's probably be $20 in like 6 months.
Rent it, pick it up from Redbox, do whatever, borrow it from a friend.
It's a 12-hour playthrough if you take your time. Right? I mean, like if you rush through, you probably beat it in 8 to 10 hours. Not that we're recommending you rush it.
No, yeah. I don't think there's... It's probably like what he's saying, like a 2 or 3 hour difference between rushing through it and experiencing almost everything, because the game's very linear. Like by exploring, it's like, well, you're supposed to walk through this one hallway and every door is locked except for 2. The one you have to go through and the one little room that you can explore. And that's really it. And the game is constructed like that constantly.
Yeah.
Where there's not much room for you to like go screw around for an hour and add a lengthy amount of time to your playthrough. It's still very, very linear in the way that it was designed. So, I mean, I don't see anybody beating it quicker than 10 hours, but I don't see it taking longer than 14 if you did everything and looked at every little corner and moved every little object. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, rock on. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We hope you enjoyed this Spoilercast of Beyond Two Souls, and catch us next time when we decide to do another one of these.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.